Today, let's talk about Dallas Cowboys' latest news. Von Miller signings, training camp drama, preseason win, and Jerry Jones' next move. If you didn't make subscribe on Dallas Cowboys Nation, please make subscribe for a big support for the Dallas Cowboys platform. The Cowboys have already played the first preseason game, or they have made another major veteran signings. So the training camp is getting more competitive and the injury are beginning to affect the roster, and Jerry Jones is still leaving the door to open to another major move. And we have seen the first player, Von Miller, have immediately signed a new contract signed in a Dallas Cowboy. So after losing Amika Person in the major trade with Ugly Bar, the Cowboys needed more pass rushing power and more veterans leadership on defense, and the Dallas already has Elashan Gary, Dovanon Azelwiki, and several young pass rusher competing for opportunities, but adding Von Miller gives a defensive coordinator, Christian Parker, another experienced weapon to use in important situations. Miller is now 37 years old, but his career numbers show why Dallas decided to take the chance. First of all, he entered Dallas with 138 career sacks, making him the active NFL leader in the career sacks. He is also bring a Super Bowl experience and was a Super Bowl 50 MVP. So this is exactly the type of the player who can help a young defensive group like Caleb Downs in the Dallas Cowboys. Miller does not necessarily need to play 60 or 70 snaps every Sunday, but the Dallas can use him strategically. He can be used on the third downs, passing situation, and important moments when the Cowboys need a pressure on the quarterback. And also, there is another important part for this signing of the Miller. He is a Texas native and has spoken about how especially it is for him to final plays for the Dallas Cowboys. That emotionally connection could also make these signings important inside the locker room. But the Cowboys Nation, there is a small warning. Dallas is not planning to immediately throw Miller into a heavy action. The Cowboys have been careful with his introduction because of his age and recent injury history. Miller has expected to break a camp in Oxnard and return to Dallas with his first Cowboys practice likely coming when the team resumes training at start in Frisco in August 25. So this means the fans may have to wait a little longer before seeing a Miller full involved in live action. So, and also, the Cowboys have already given fans something to be excited about the next two-game preseason before the season it starts. So there is some excitement for the fans that the Dallas Cowboys have already given to the fans. So before the Miller signings, the Dallas had already started its preseason campaign in impressive fashion, where he won 17-7 of Seattle Hawks. And of course, preseason results should never be treated like a regular season result. So many starters do not play, and coaches use these games to evaluate young players and players fighting for a roster spots. But there were still several positive signs. One of the biggest story was a lucky wide receiver, Camden Brown. Brown made a huge impression by catching 2 touchdown passes, including an impressive diving catches. and also his performance immediately increased. It increased the attention around him as the Dallas continues to evaluate its wide receiver depth. And this is exactly what a preseason is supposed to be about. Young players get opportunities and they show the coaching staff why they deserve to stay. A quarterback, Joe Milton III, also showed encouraging signs where where he completed 12 of 15 passes for 107 yards and touchdowns, while Sam Howell completed 8 of 12 passes for 94 yards and a touchdown. So the Cowboys also got a strong performances from Malik Davis, who rushed for 39 yards on 7 carries. So while Dak Prescott did not need to carry the offense in the preseason opener, but the backup quarterback competition and the depth at several positions become much more interesting in the preseason in Oxnard in California. So let's talk about the Caleb Downs who make his preseason debut in the Dallas Cowboys. So the Caleb Downs is another player in Dallas Cowboys where the fans have been watching closely in a rookie safety. Downs was one of the most highly anticipated young player coming into a camp. So, and the Dallas has been careful with how quickly it brings him along, and he finally made a preseason debut against a Seattle Hawks. So the Cowboys are clearly excited about his versatility, his athletic ability, and football intelligence, but they are also managing his workload carefully. Downs could become one of the most important young players on this defense, and how imagine the possibilities Caleb Downs in secondary. So the Russian Gary attacking the quarterback, Davon Ezaluwalki developing, and Von Miller coming off the edge passing situation. So the training camp has immediately become extremely competitive because of the many strong players for the Dallas Cowboys competing for their places. Young talented player want to those young players want to evaluate his skills and get time to play in the Dallas Cowboys, even if they are young. So or the competition is more, it become more extreme in the training camp in the Dallas Cowboy. The Dallas spent the main portion of the camp in the Oxnard, California before returning to the Dallas area, and the Cowboys officially training camp schedule had opened practice in Oxnard through August 18. It is followed by additional practices at Ford Center at the start in Frisco on August 25 and August 26. And the latest practices against the New Orleans Saints become extremely physical. The Cowboys and Saints helped the joint practice on Tuesday, and tensions reportedly boiled over into a multiple fights. So for our coaches, these practices can be valuable because they give a player a chance to compete against another team instead of constantly facing their own teammates. So even if the Dallas Cowboy camp is very competitive, but also there is some injury in the Dallas Cowboy camp because of strong competition or strong camp, or so there is some or some injury happening in the Dallas Cowboys camp. The Cowboys running back room has been hit by several injury issues. Phil Maffa, Israel Abonikanda, and Jadon Blue have all dealt with injury around the preseason opener, creating another difficult situation for position group and already fighting for a roster spot. So, Jadon Blue was also listed as the missing practice in the latest Dallas Cowboy updates, and the Cowboys need to be careful here. There is no reason to risk an important young player during a preseason period simply to win a meaningless exhibition game, but you have to manage those players. Then in order to keep it well, in order to that they can be used in a season, if in a season. So the goal is to arrive at week one health. At the same time, every injury creates an opportunity for another player. That is why the next two preseason game will be extremely important. So the Dallas Cowboys has another important preseason game coming again against the Arizona Cardinals on August 22. This will be the second game for the Dallas Cowboys after a big one for Seattle Hawks, where he won 70-7 of Seattle Hawks. So on August 22, Dallas Cowboy will game coming against the Arizona Cardinals. The Cowboys official scheduled the game State Farm Stadium with a kickoff schedule for 9 p.m. Central Time. This game will be especially important for a player fighting for a roster position, coaches, and will look at running back. They will be evaluating a wide receivers, and they will be watching offensive linemen, and they will be evaluating a young defensive lineman and linebacker. And of course, the secondary will continue to receive a lot of attention. So the preseason is basically a job interview for many players. A great performance can earn a roster spot, and poor performance also in the Dallas Cowboys can move a player closer to a waiver wire. And that it brings us to another biggest consequences of the Von Miller signings. A Miller arrival make a Cowboys outsider linebacker group much more crowded. To me, there are many players on outside of linebacker group. Elashan Gary and Donovan Azelwaki are expected to be important pieces, while a player such as Malachi Lawrence, James Houston, Sam Williams, Tyler Sweet, Asia Land, and others are fighting for the opportunity. The competition could become very difficult, and one projects that Miller addition could put the players such as Sam Williams and the other in difficult position when the Dallas eventually have to reduce a roster. This is one of the interesting parts of the NFL roster construction. A big signings does not only help the team. So even if there are many crowded in the Dallas Cowboys different areas, but the Jerry Jones may not be finished different moves in the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys owner and general manager Jerry Jones has repeatedly indicated that the Dallas remain open to making another signings move. So Jones has spoken about the possibility of substantive addition, and has more. It's clear that the Cowboys are trying to build a team capable of competing for a Super Bowl. So the latest reporting after the Miller signings also indicate that the Jones has not completely closed the door on another move. That does not mean the trade is guaranteed, and Cowboys fans should be careful with social media transfer rumors. So there are always dozens of names connected to the Dallas during the training camp, But there is difference between the prayer being discussed by the